Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you've not been here before, my name is Tracy Mayhew and I write contemporary romances set here in the UK and YA fantasy fiction based on myths and legends. I didn't get a video out. I was meant to get this video out last week, but I got bogged down in writing Bellanotte and pushing ahead with that, both with editing and writing. So I'm very pleased to say that was the reason why there was no video last week. So that's why I'm doing it this week instead. So it's a little bit later than I would normally have liked, but that's what happens sometimes, isn't it? When you're an author and your priorities change and shift. So this video today is all about my February TBR list, and I will also be talking about the books I read in December and in January as well. So let's kick off with one of the books that I read in December. This was a new series to me, but not a new author. I've talked about this author quite a lot, particularly last year, because I listened to his one half of the Rock, Paper, Swords podcast that I listen to regularly. And this book that I read was The Heathen Horde by Stephen A. Mackay, which tells the story of Alfred the Great. It's the first in a trilogy, and I really enjoyed this book. This book got me through quite a tough time at the end of February when I had to go into hospital. And on that day, I read like 100 pages, and I was just so grateful to have it. I really enjoyed this book. It was a really good way to start a series about Alfred the Great. I really like the way that Alfred is portrayed. He doesn't come across as this sort of really self-assured guy in it. He sort of builds up to that, and I can see that there's a long way for him to go before he is, the man that we know him as, being Alfred the Great. I do have the second book on my bookshelf behind me somewhere, so I will be reading that probably next month. That will be one of my March reads, and I'm looking forward to continuing with that series. Another book that I read in December, I think, was The Price of Blood by Patricia Bracewell, which was the second book in the Emma of Normandy series. You'd have heard me talk about that last year as well. That was a series that I started last year. Both of these books are historical fiction, and I really enjoyed that. It was a really good continuation. I really love how the characters are coming across. She doesn't just concentrate on Emma, although obviously Emma is the main character, but she has Emma's husband, stepsons, all have a part in, and other characters besides as well, all take a part in telling the story and telling their story. And it's just the world that Patricia Bracewell creates is just really good, and it's a part of history, even like my own country's history, that I never really thought about. So it's just a really interesting read, and I highly recommend that series. Again, I have the third book in that series, The Steel Beneath the Silk, ready to go. I have ordered it from my library. It's sitting on my bookshelf, so that will probably be another March read as well. Spoilers. Big spoilers. January saw me rereading, should I say, The Rising Storm. I'm not going to talk about that one because that's my own book. That would be unfair. But I did talk about it briefly in my last video, which I will leave a link to somewhere up there, when I was talking about my progress in Bellanotte and writing the third book in the Viking series. So if you want to check that out, feel free to go ahead and check out that whole playlist, and I'll leave a link to that as well at the end of the video. Another book that I read in January, I finished the Songs of Magic series by S.A. Patrick, which was kind of like a retelling of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, and it was a really unique way of seeing that legend, that story play out, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really good roundup to the series, and it ended it had a really satisfying end, which was good. So if you've got young readers at home, this series, The Songs of Magic, is very much for younger readers. I would say about 11 to 13-year-olds, maybe even a little bit younger if you've got some really good readers. And I know for a fact that kids that age do enjoy those books. The kids that I teach, I've seen them reading it. I've talked to them about the book. In fact, the series was recommended to me by one of the children that I do teach. So it can't come any highly recommended than that, can it? So let's move on then to the books I am reading in February. So one of the books I'm reading in February is one of the books I'm reading in February is another new author to me, Barbara Erskine, and she's written a book called The Dream Weavers, and this sounds really good. I was in a bookshop with my mum and we saw it, and I thought, I didn't know if it would be something that I would be really interested in, and be able to invest in. So I thought I'd get it out of the library and play it safe. But I've started reading it, and it's really, really good. I am having to stop it for the moment because I am reading another book that I want to put my full attention to, and I will talk about that book in a moment. But this book, let's talk about this book. Let you know what it's about. So, a love story that will echo through the centuries. A couple torn apart. The year is 775 AD, and the Saxon king Offa rules with cold ambition. His daughter Eadburh, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, destined for an arranged marriage, is devastated when her true love is torn from her. Angry and passionate, she rebels, but her defiance may lead to war. A past that will not stay buried. Centuries later, unsettling visions disturb a cottage hidden amongst the Welsh hills, and Bee begins to have haunting nightmares. The past is calling, and Eadburh is trying to exact her revenge. As dreams and reality weave closer together, will Bee have the strength to resist the secrets of the Saxons? And it's a sort of set in the Anglo-Saxon times. That is a period that I am quite interested in. So I thought this would be a good starting point for one of her books. But all of her books seem to be a bit like Outlander, kind of like this dual timeline where we have present day, but then we have like going back into a kind of historical period. But I thought this one would be a really good way for me to introduce myself to Barbara Erskine, and I hope I'm saying her name correctly. So the book that I am currently reading, that I'm having to stop that one for, is Maiden of Artemis by Eloise Barr. Sorry. There we go. Maiden of Artemis by Eloise Barr. She is a friend of mine on YouTube. She runs a YouTube channel. I will leave a link to her channel down below. So she is an independently published author. I am really enjoying this book at the moment. I will be doing a indie author book club review on this book as well. So yeah, watch out for that. So I'm not going to say too much. I have started reading it. I'm like over halfway through at the moment. But I'm not going to say too much about it here because I'll dedicate a full review to that. But if you want to know what it's about, I do have the blurb. So before the men of myth and legend, there was Atrera, first queen of the Amazons. It wasn't until the prince's blood coated Atrera's hands that she realised she'd sentenced herself to death. In her darkest hour, Artemis offers her a second chance at life and freedom, but in return the goddess commands unwavering loyalty and sends her on a formidable quest. Joined by women who swiftly become sisters along the way, Atrera's journey is tangled by prophecy and unexpected discoveries, and she is faced with a decision that will alter her life forever. Fleeing from men and monsters alike, Atrera and her companions travel across ancient Greece in search of what was promised. Each day she learns more about herself and the dangers of her world. Yet the closer she gets to fulfilling her quest, the further Atrera drifts from her pledge to Artemis. Pursued by a vengeful king and his relentless champion, Atrera discovers how far she'll go to keep her sisters safe, but nothing, not even a divine weapon, can protect her from the wrath of the gods. So begins the story of the tribe, feared by heroes and kings alike. So this is the first in it's definitely the first in a series. I'm not sure how many books there will be in the series, but I know that she's writing book 2 now, so I'm quite excited about that. So if that sounds like it's something that might interest you, if you like Greek mythology or just mythology in general, it's definitely a book that I reckon you should check out. But like I say, full review coming in on another day. And the last book that I'm reading is this big book, The Dose Effect by TJ Power. And it introduces you to 4 chemicals in your brain, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin and endorphins, and it tells you how to live a better life, triggering those chemicals naturally. And so far so good. I've read quite a bit, like maybe a quarter of it, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really interesting. There's so much information in it, and it's such a dense book. There is quite a lot of information packed into it. But again, once I've read this fully, I will bring you a better review than this. So I'm not going to read I'm not going to... Actually, I will read the blurb. Why not? Why not read the blurb? So neuroscientist TJ Power shares how you can reset and rebalance your brain chemistry with simple, everyday habits to lead a happier, healthier and more productive life. In today's fast-paced world, many of us struggle with extreme emotional highs and lows caused by chemical imbalances in our brains, brought on by the pressures of modern life and constant digital connectivity. By understanding the role that brain chemicals play in how you feel, you can learn how to harness their powers. TJ will teach you actionable daily practices that are easy to implement and can have a profound impact on your mental well-being. Explore how to use dopamine to drive motivation, activate oxytocin to strengthen connections, boost serotonin for more energy, and tap into endorphins to reduce stress. TJ's simple formula and straightforward solutions will guide you on an exciting, action-based journey to optimise your brain chemistry and transform your mental health. So I thought that might be... I've seen a couple of interviews with him. I've seen one with Ali Abdaal in the Deep Dive podcast, and he's so interesting to listen to. And I thought, when I realised he had a book coming out, I was like, oh, this sounds like something that I might be interested in learning more about. So that's what I did. I bought it, and now I'm learning about how to naturally fire up my brain chemicals. So hopefully that'll have a better effect on my motivation, and particularly my motivation and my productivity. So there you have it. They are the 3 books I'm reading this month. I don't know if I'll get through them all by March, but we'll see. And I will be back next month with a brand new TBR video for March. If in the meantime, if you are interested in seeing how my writing is going, you can check out this playlist over here, and I will see you next week with a brand new video. Have a good week. Bye.